My name is Chloe Harling, and my presentation will be on the public health issue of hantavirus. Hantaviruses are RNA viruses carried on their rodent hosts without showing any symptoms of infection. When transmitted to humans through direct contact, hantavirus can cause hantavirus pulmonary syndrome in the Americas or hemorrhagic fever with renal syndrome in Eurasia. Currently, there are over 21 hantaviruses identified, but scientists believe there are more undetected. Hantaviruses are transmitted to humans through three main rodents: the striped field mouse, the deer mouse, and the bank vole. Due to human settlement and the natural distribution of rodents over time, hantavirus was carried over from Eurasia to the Americas, where it still persists today. Because of the geographical and symptomatic differences of the hantaviruses, the diseases are often classified as Old World or New World. For example, hantavirus pulmonary syndrome only occurs in the New World, while hemorrhagic fever with renal syndrome occurs in the Old World. Scientists have also discovered that the presence of hantavirus vectors depends on climatology. On the right depicts a colored chart showing the distribution of hantaviruses throughout the Old and New Worlds. As far as future risk, researchers believe that hantavirus outbreaks are unpredictable due to the random changes in the natural abundance and distribution of rodents around the world. It has also been difficult to research new viruses that appear in third world countries because they often go undetected due to lack of education. Underdeveloped countries do not have the screening or resources to treat hantaviruses and often associate them with other known diseases. The etiological factors for hantaviruses are most commonly the Hantavirus, Sin Nombre virus, and the Pumala virus. The Sin Nombre virus is the etiological factor that leads to hantavirus pulmonary syndrome in the U.S., while the Hantan and Pumala viruses contribute to hemorrhagic fever with renal syndrome in Eurasia. All three viruses are carried on rodents and transmitted to humans. Scientists believe that farmers, soldiers, and individuals living in rural places are at the greatest risk of being exposed to a hantavirus-infected rodent. However, it is still possible to fall ill to hantavirus when living in cities as well. Currently, there are no FDA-approved vaccines for hantavirus pulmonary syndrome in the U.S. as a strategy to combat hantavirus. One major concern about introducing a vaccine is the possibility of a mass production of the virus. However, there are many laboratories working to develop a vaccine that will activate viral antigens through DNA vectors or recombinant proteins to limit the severity of the disease. Since hantavirus is an RNA virus, scientists are searching for M and S genes that will produce neutralizing antibodies against hantavirus strains without any pre-existing immunities to the vaccine. Immunotherapy is another strategy that administers neutralizing antibodies during the acute phase of hantavirus pulmonary syndrome. It is an effective treatment for preventing severe infections of the virus. In fact, one antiviral medication known as ribavirin was tested in 1991 with patients in China, which showed reduced mortality rates. One example of solving a hantavirus outbreak was during the Korean War when over 3,000 U.S. troops fell ill to hemorrhagic fever with renal syndrome in the early 1950s. Healthcare officials solved the issue by administering ribavirin to the infected soldiers. Another example is the Four Corners outbreak, which made hantavirus pulmonary syndrome recognized in the U.S. In 1993, a severe respiratory disease broke out in the Four Corners of the U.S. and was later discovered to be a specific hantavirus caused by rodents carrying the Sin Nombre virus. The patients were given antibodies to fight off the disease through immunotherapy. Many patients also needed oxygen therapy to help with breathing. As a strategy to prevent hantavirus in the future, scientists have been experimenting with RNA sequencing. Through RNA sequencing, researchers are looking to profile the patterns of disease expression of the virus in order to predict the host cell's response to the infection. This idea comes from the fact that hantavirus is an RNA-inscribed virus that expresses or represses multiple genes during the course of infection. If continued success, scientists will be able to find mechanisms that can either control or fail to control the disease. And lastly, in my opinion, we need to focus on better educating and promoting the awareness of hantavirus in underdeveloped communities around the world, such as Africa, the Middle East, and India. Scientists suspect that there are many hantaviruses that remain undiscovered. Many individuals in poor countries are uneducated about the virus and the symptoms of hantavirus pulmonary syndrome or hemorrhagic fever with renal syndrome. I believe officials should find set guidelines on how to detect, report, and treat hantavirus in underdeveloped communities so that scientists can keep track of new viruses and continue researching ways to prevent the disease. And finally, my scholarly references. Thank you.